Hello, hello. Welcome back. uh, Today is the morning after one of my best friend's weddings. And so I'm, I'm surprisingly not hungover. You would expect that I would be feeling like crap, but I'm not doing so bad. I feel pretty normal. I just feel very tired. Like I've been helping them prepare for this thing for like the last week and a half, every single day, cooking, cleaning, setting the stage, so to speak, um, meeting everyone. So I'm exhausted, but I'm not hungover, and that's nice. So I'm just drinking a cup of coffee, and I thought I would get back to the manifesto. So I'll just set a timer. Where's the timer? This is 30 minutes. And we'll go. Part 2. Manifesto. Rob Hardy. What the fuck is the pattern, Rob? Stop teasing us. Okay. Part 2. The cancer spreads. Let me just check how long is this section. We'll see if I can get through the whole thing. Just as the pattern wore me down as a creator, so too did I come to despise it as a consumer. In those early years, filmmaking was my singular passion. Film is a rich tapestry woven from other great art forms: theater, music, photography, writing, and I had an insatiable curiosity to untangle and understand it. I wanted to learn everything I could about visual storytelling. I wanted deeper insight into the people behind my favorite works, and I wanted to explore all the technical, nerdy details of this complex craft. I said in my last video on this that I wanted to read aloud so that I could pay attention to the language more and talk about the writing more. Maybe it's just how I'm feeling today, but as I've been doing that, I've not actually felt that much inclination to talk about the language because it is so smooth. And it almost seems, I feel like that's the highest compliment I can give, is that it's not standing out to me. There's no awkwardness. It rolls off the tongue, and that's what I really wanted to see by reading this out loud, was how well does it roll off the tongue, because that's kind of the ultimate test of writing in many ways. And it does. So, I could talk about various things, technical aspects, but it's not how I'm feeling today anyway. Maybe another day. In theory, my job as a curator and aggregator should have given me a front row seat to all of that. After all, my paycheck hinged on my ability to hover over this corner of the internet like a ravenous hawk desperate to find its next meal. Nothing interesting or newsworthy could happen in the world of filmmaking without us pouncing on it. And for the first year I was in that gig, I gorged myself, drinking deeply from the fire hose of information. Yeah, this is a very So one of the first times that Rob and I were connected on Twitter, I knew about Rob before he knew about me. But I tweeted one time, if there was such a thing as marketing rehab, I would check in. And I think Michael Ashcroft tagged Rob in a reply. Check this out. And some people asked me what I meant by that, or what were the issues with marketing. And this is one of them. This is why I'm remembering that. Is that as a copywriter, as a writer, because there's different roles in marketing. You can be an ad buyer, media buyer type of person, which doesn't really involve the writing so much as just making deals to buy ad space and whatnot. So the content of the content of the marketing is a little bit less important, and you're not the one writing it in those cases. But as the writer, if you're in a writer role in marketing, you have to know everything. You have to know who you're writing to. You have to know who you're writing for and as. I mean, in the case of Rob's job, it didn't sound like he was writing as somebody, being a sort of aggregator website. But in all of my work, I've always been writing as someone else. So my job title has never technically been ghostwriter, but you could describe it that way. I've always written in someone else's voice. And so you have to not only know who you're writing to and what you're trying to communicate to the audience, right? And then obviously there's different segments of the audience and different people in the audience, so you can't just, generalize completely. You have to get very nuanced in your understanding of who you're writing to. You have to understand the people. You have to understand what you're writing about, what the topic is, in this case, filmmaking. You have to understand who you're writing as, because if you don't, you can't write as them, right? If you were playing somebody in a movie, you have to understand who they are, or writing a character, writing a real character in a movie, you have to understand who they are and how they speak and what they think and how they see the world and all these things. So you have to know that and be able to do that. You have to understand the market as a whole. Who's the competition? What are they doing? How are they different from what you're doing? How are you better or worse than the competition? All these things, you have to know everything. It's super demanding. But yeah, the part that stood out here is just the amount of information that you have to take in. It's whatever is your area, you have to be on it. And that can be a blessing, and it can be a total curse. And if you don't want to keep up with all of the fire hose of information of whatever topic you're writing about, it's a huge pain in the ass. It's you're basically putting a fire hose in your mouth unwillingly and just having to gorge all this information that you don't want to even be taking in. It's information overload as your job. And I think we all know how unpleasant information overload can be, even when it's a topic that we're interested in, right? It certainly doesn't help anyone's peace of mind, doesn't help anyone think more clearly or think for themselves. So that was a huge, that thing that Rob is describing, the gorging on the fire hose of information, is a huge factor in my burnout. Because I got into this kind of work knowing that I didn't really want to have to gorge on the fire hose of information, but nonetheless I kind of just ignored the fact that I didn't want to do that and put myself in a position where I had to, and I really ended up resenting it a lot. I know people who are many levels of seniority above me who just had, RSS feeds on like every possible thing relevant to the market that we were writing in, and just like completely plugged in. There was zero time that he wasn't plugged in, uh, soaking up information, looking for information, and not even for his own curiosity. In this case, right, it's not for your own curiosity, it's for your job. You have like a bent on it. You're looking for information in a very particular way, which what Rob described in the earlier part of this article, which is like you're looking for clickbait hooks, like marketing, juicy marketing kinds of information. You're not looking for yourself. You're looking for your market, and you're looking for things that you think will appeal to your market, whether you really want to know and spend time with that information or not. And then the further layer is that you're taking those things that you find and spinning them to be even more clickbaity or even more of a hook. So your entire sense of reality gets fucking warped. Okay, I'm gonna read again. But in the summer of 2014, just as I was getting bored of my own creative work, I also found myself fed up with the space as a whole. Turns out, it wasn't just our site playing cynical aggression games. It was all of us. Once I saw the pattern on our blog, I saw it everywhere. The entire ecosystem of filmmaking blogs, podcasts, and YouTube channels was recycling news and churning out half-baked content at a remarkable pace. From my perch atop the ecosystem, I could watch a story break, then spread from one aggregator to the next, eventually blanketing our entire corner of the internet in a thick smog of mediocrity. It was truly something to behold. I've seen that kind of thing too. Like a dozen companies trying to write about the same thing, putting the most minor of spins on it to make it arguably not just copying each other. But yeah, it's all based on what's hot. Everyone's chasing the same hot ideas because that's what they see is selling. And so everything just ends up becoming the same. And if you're not first to pounce on an idea, then it's going to get written about in a variety of ways before you get to it. And then what are you left with? You have to like try to put an interesting spin on it, not touch the idea at all, which is risky because you give up getting the traffic from that, or at least I guess in Rob's case the traffic, since it was mostly a traffic generating kind of website. Right? That's a loss. That's a risk to take, and a lot of businesses are not comfortable or willing to take that kind of risk. So they still write about the same topics, but it's already been done a dozen times. So then what, you just like use another marketing formula to write a sort of a different headline about the same thing? As the writer, it's truly something to behold, yeah. Increasingly, I found myself craving well-crafted, nourishing, informational meals. But instead, all I could find was an abundance of mass-produced, nutritionally void food substance, fresh off a soulless assembly line. This is how I came to be totally disillusioned. Within the span of 6 months, the pattern destroyed my own creative outlook, along with the corner of the internet I wanted so badly to love. The first thing that popped into mind when he said nutritionally void food substance was spam, right? Spam is spare parts and ham, I think, is what it stands for. And I got to admit, like, I really enjoy spam. I grew up in Hawaii. Spam is a very, very common food. But it is nutritionally, very nutritionally void, except in the most basic of ways. You get fat and you get protein, but not like high quality. And it's a food substance. It's like, what the fuck is this, like, brick of pink shit? And spam, further, is what you call much of marketing, right? Junk mail, spam. That's what we call it. Because it's nutritionally like nothing. So it's not as it's I don't know actually the history of that term spam to describe junk mail. But spam has like become a verb. To spam, right? Spamming somebody. It's like relentlessly blasting them with marketing offers of that are like not well targeted, right? That's kind of the extra layer that makes it spam. It's like, this is not well targeted, like this is not really for me, like why are you sending me this offer, like I don't want that. And in that way it's nutritionally void because it's not really for the person who's getting it. It's just random marketing. I think I gotta wrap up early. I think I gotta wrap up right now, unfortunately. Yeah, so maybe I'll pick this back up later today and try to finish this part. But so let's call this part 2.5, or just part 2. The next one will be 2.5. Yeah, that's a bummer, but I'll get back to it. I'll see you next time.